Good afternoon and welcome to a rather overcast day in the South Lakes and the new Kia Picanto. And I think the last time I drove one of these was in the northeast near Yarm. And it was bright yellow and a GT line, whereas this is the starter trim. I'm Ben Quirk, welcome to Planet Auto. First things first, happy birthday Picanto, 20 years old. Wow, and how it's changed. Now this is the third gen, which first launched in 2017. However, this is the facelifted version for 2024. Now you'd be forgiven for thinking, is this actually a mid-range trim? Because as soon as I saw it, I thought, ooh, look at that. Aggressive splitter at the bottom, big chunky lights, and how wrong was I? This is actually a 2. It certainly gets its inspiration from Kia EV9, and it commands a princely sum of just over £15,500. Say what? Now, you don't have to go for this. You could go for the GT Line S, and that'll cost you just over £19,000. The thing is, this is sporty enough for most people. You'll be surprised what's here as standard. I think one of the biggest differences is the wheel size. But these remind me of the Mark II, 14-inch, and alloys. Love it. And the higher up the trim level you go, the more features you get. For example, we've got halogens, but you get LEDs. You can also get things like heated seats and a heated steering wheel, and automatic air conditioning. We've got pretty much base level, manual air conditioning. Engines, they're not the quickest, because they've done away with the turbo, which I'm quite gutted about, to be honest, because that did give it some pep. So this is 0 to 60 in just under 16 seconds. The thing is, through the gears, it's not bad at all. It reminds me of older, I suppose, higher revving vehicles back in the day. And with this, because it's a 3-cylinder, it sounds awesome. Speaking of 3 cylinders, there's 2 to choose from. So you can get the 1 litre and the 1.2 16 valve. And the 16 valve is a touch quicker, but it won't break any records. This is built as a city car, so its main job is economy. But saying that, it'll suit you fine on a motorway journey. And do you know the best thing about this one? We've got a 5-speed manual. Yes, 5-speed, not 6-speed. But with a car like this, you don't really need it. Little short shift, rather good. It's not lost any of its agility or dynamic handling. Because that's the thing about Picanto. Since it launched in 2017 with this generation, its size just hasn't changed. Well, if you look at the side profile, the wheels are closer to each end, which means you've got shorter overhangs, which in turn means you've got a rather great handling car. Doesn't it just look the part with the 14s? Oh, I do like the colour too. Speaking of colours, 7 to choose from, including 4 brand new ones. I think this one's blaze red. Now when it comes to super minis, well, they're falling like flies, sadly. We lost the Fiesta, and that was the best selling in the UK. But that then means a bigger market segment for things like the Picanto, the Swift, the MG3. So it's rather heating up again, which is quite interesting. But that doesn't mean that the Picanto doesn't sell exceptionally well. It's one of Kia's best-selling vehicles. And after driving a number of them, I can see why. Now, I love a manual, but it's not everybody's cup of tea. So you can also get an AMT, which is the automatic manual transmission. Now, when it comes to buying a Picanto, there's a heck of a lot of choice out there. You can get a 2, a 3, a GT line, a Shadow, and a GT line S. And cleverly, you can either go for the 1 litre with the manual or the 1.2 with the AMT. That's Jazz, or as we've aptly named him, Honda Jazz. Now I've always seen this as a stocky looking little car. I mean, just look at the dimensions. It's everything you want in a city car. And with the latest facelift, the fact that you've got the EV9 inspiration, the chunkier front bumper, and I do love the way that the bonnet toes down into the tweaked Tiger Nose grille. And of course, the new Kia badge. I think it suits the newer vehicles so much better. The shaping round here, the mouth doesn't toe down as much. It's a looker, especially with the combo of colours. It just completes the look. It's amazing how low that splitter is, which explains why it handles exceptionally well. Now with all Kia cars, you get a rather comprehensive safety list. Everything from AEB through to collision detection, lane keep assist, lane departure warning, and everything in between. And if you go for the GT Line S and some other models, you get 2 other safety features as well. Collision avoidance and blind spot avoidance system. From the side, it's a rather clean look. it doesn't need a body kit. It doesn't need arches, skirts. It looks great just as it is. Now if you go for the GT Line S, yes, that'll all change. But as a car that starts at just over 15,500, I think it's rather smart. Now I mentioned you've got 14-inch wheels and a decent profile tyre, meaning comfort on all types of roads. Now if you choose some of the other trims, you'll get things like keyless entry. Ours uses remote central locking, a key, and I can't forget power adjusted, colour coded door mirrors handles. Let's take a look inside. The door opens nice and wide, and yes, we're met with hard plastics. Because this is essentially bottom of the range, you don't even get a padded armrest. That's the one thing I'd like to see on every trim. But it's not just this vehicle. You've got a decent door pocket. Climbing in, I do have to duck my head and be aware of this, but it's just not a challenge. Now there is no grab handle. There is above every other door, but not this one. And my seat isn't too far back either, so I'm not going to squish the person behind me. For an entry-level car, well, it's rather well equipped, because I didn't expect a reversing camera. I also didn't expect a digital cluster. This is exceptionally good value. On this right hand side are tyre pressures, we've got traction control, and we can adjust the headlamp height. Now there are a lot of hard plastics throughout pretty much everything, but with a Supermini, this is almost what you expect. It's well constructed and it's nice and solid, and I do like the addition of this silver line, and the majority of the plastics are pretty good quality. Nice and solid considering the weight of this door, because it's quite light. Leather wrapped steering wheel and lots of easy controls, as well as chunky stalks. The thing about a Picanto is everything's within easy reach. And look, rotaries, dials, buttons. Now it's pretty well set up, this. McPherson struts on the front and a quick rack. It doesn't just make it a fast and responsive steering action, it also helps in manoeuvring and parking. I think it's about 2.5 turns. Lovely 5-speed manual here. Some blanked out plates here, so you can get things like heated seats, heated steering wheel, 2 cup holders here, and an extra space. And that, in the higher trims, is a wireless charging pad. Perfect. 12-volt socket, USBs, and a USB-C. Demister and aircon, all on buttons and rotaries once again. The cluster, very straightforward. Gives you all the information you need. Speedo, you've got a little computer in the middle that you can scroll through using the button on the steering wheel. You've also got cruise control, but it's not adaptive. Lane keep assist, and a favouriting system. Decent sized infotainment system. To be honest, I did expect something far simpler, so that's great to see. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, rotary for the volume, and push on and off. Proper buttons for your navigation, DAB radio, etc, etc. It's got everything it needs. Now with this being an entry-level car, I expected there's no way it's going to have height adjustment, but it does. And it's nice to see a cloth trim. I really do like one of these, especially when it's lightened up. Say this pattern in the centre. Rather buckety and very comfortable. Pretty good for a long haul. And depending on the trim you go for, you could get faux leather. Interiors made from more sustainable sources. Headroom, well, what's that? Just under 2 inches. Amazing. And my seat's not on the floor either. 3-pedal system, because you've got a manual box, and we've got a footrest on the left hand side as well. Now there is no reach in the steering wheel, but you do have rake. Now I mentioned it before that there's no armrest on here. It seems strange you've got one here, but not there. This is a great addition. I'd just prefer if it was slid back a little more, because when I'm pulling the handbrake off, arms like mine, it does seem to hinder it. Old school mirror. Glove box. Decent size. And I think that's your lot. Let's take a look in the back. I almost forgot. Adjustable seat belts, and you've got your petrol cap release just down here next to the seat. If you like this type of video, why not subscribe to the channel? You just hit the button on the right hand side. It's free and you'll get an alert every time we upload. Also, if you do like the video, why not give it a like? It all helps and it means we can get more cars. Thank you. It has a rather pleasing silhouette and it carries off the 5-door designation rather well. Front wheel drive. No all-wheel drive in Picanto. That would be something. Discs at the front and drums at the rear. Let's take a look in the back. The door opens nice and wide. It would have been nice to see these lightened up, but as the city cars, it's not really a priority. This is a decent opening, and to be honest, I don't think it'll be that bad to get in. Let's find out. So, I do have to duck my head, but it's very doable. And yes, my knees are touching, but this is set up for me. And the bottom line is, this is not designed for 4 6'3" me's, but it does a good job with it. I get my feet under the seat, and this is recessed, nice and padded. One thing that does lack on this, no door pocket. It's a comfortable rear bench, and it comes out a fair way as well, so it's rather supportive. And it's nice to see that it matches the front. One thing I do love about Picanto is I've got a great view through the window. So even with a small car like this, I'm not looking at a chunk of roofline. No vents, no USBs, or even a storage pot. On subsequent models, it'd be nice to see that with something. Sat like this, my hair is brushing, but we all know my height by now, so it's almost what you expect. I can sit a little lower, and that gives me about an inch. And to be honest, this is equally as comfortable. One map pocket, and I think it would have benefited from a rear light. But city cars, some have them, some don't, and that's how it's always been. It's nice and light and airy. And if you go for one of the higher trims, you even get a sunroof. But because we've got the two, we haven't even got the privacy glass. So that makes it better, to be honest. And look at the size of the back window. So it lets a lot of light in. And you've got a great view through the windscreen. Finally, ISOFIX points and airbags all round the vehicle. Let's take a look at the rear. Well, you can certainly see the inspiration from EV9 from the rear, especially with this light bar. Toll designation, once again. And just look at the chunky bumper, especially with the red and the black gloss. Rear diffuser styling, anyone? No, it gives it a real presence from the rear. Sporty rear spoiler, high level brake light, shark fin aerial, and yes, a rear wiper. Becoming quite a rarity, those. And on top of that, rear parking sensors and a reversing camera. And don't forget, you've got a 7-year warranty, 100,000 miles. Let's take a look in the boot. And the button's located here, which isn't central, so you don't get it straight away. But it means that you can have a camera central, which is more important. And even at my height, because the boot comes up so high, I can quite easily lean in here without banging my head. I think that's a mother of all boot lips. But it's a city car. If you had a false floor, well, you'd have no boot. And this is how they all are, including the brand new MG3 on a new platform. If we lift up the floor, which is a little bit of carpet, so do bear that in mind if you put in anything heavy. Shopping and that, no problem. Inflation kit, locking wheel nuts. Now you could put a spare wheel in there. Shopping bag hooks, a rear light, but no 12 volt. And look, split folding. You'll easily get a few bags of shopping in there and a couple of smallish suitcases, so it's not beyond the realms to go on a small weekend adventure. Strings, love it. Easy to pop out the parcel shelf and just push out here, and then that pulls out. And this is nice and solid. Dropping the seats, nice and easy. Just pull up this. And it might have been an idea to have a false floor in, purely and simply to make that a flat loading area, but it's scraping the bottom of the barrel, and I don't think I've seen it in any other car either. With the seats down, you get a fair few items in there. Speaking to my brother with his Volkswagen Up, it's amazing how much you can get in a car of this size. Let's take a look under the bonnet. To pop the bonnet, just pull this lever. Push the lever left, and it's not the lightest bonnet either for a car of this size. A radiator cap. It's nice and easy to see where to top up your fluids. Okay. I think it's time to see how this handles and drives. Welcome behind the wheel of the new Kia Picanto. Under the bonnet, we've got a mighty 1-litre engine, and it develops 62 horsepower. I think it's something like 93 newton meters of torque. 0 to 60, well, a touch over 15. So yeah, it's not the quickest car on the grid. The thing is, the Picanto's not about that. Granted, I do miss the turbo. That gave it some real pep. But through the gears, it's pretty quick.
That's it, Ben. I found it was peppy through the gears.
Yeah, well, setting off in second. A little bit of hesitance, but then it's not bad. putting the engine aside, it's as dynamic and as agile as it's ever been. And it's got torque vectoring through the braking, so when you go hard into a corner and anchor up, it keeps its composure. It's got comfortable suspension, and it's an enjoyable car to drive. And ironically, considering it's a city car, it's bigger than it seems. Also, the short overhangs and the way that the wheels are positioned means, well, it's exceptional on the B road. So we've got a 5-speed manual, but you could go for the automatic manual transmission. This is the one I'd always choose, and there's not much in economy either. On a good day, you'll be getting 50 to the gallon. On an even better day, it wouldn't surprise me if it's low 60s. Just look at the way it corners here. In second gear, it can shift, but you do have to rev it rather hard. The thing is, that's a challenge with a naturally aspirated engine. If you've noticed nowadays, most have either turbos, or more so, electric motors, and they really do add some pep. But if you've noticed, it just plods around quite happily. Just don't be in the wrong gear when you're going to do an overtake. Now, the thing that always amazes about Kia is the safety levels, especially as this is just a 2, and it's got pretty much everything the GT Line S has. So you've got lane departure warning, you've got AEB, collision detection. They just love the sound of a 3-pot. They're so raspy. The thing is, inherently with one of those, you do get a slight bit of vibration, but it only seems to be at traffic lights. And it's nothing to really write home about, is it, Annabelle?
No.
Cabin noise. Well, it's a city car on 14s, so yeah, you can hear a fair bit. Tyre noise and some ambient noise, but that's what you expect. The thing is, get it on a decent bit of tarmac and it does quieten down. Climbing up hills. This is where it suffers a bit. You will be dropping gears more than you think. But if you stay at high revs, shouldn't be a problem. It would be nice to see an electric motor on this in the future. It's the price that staggers me.
Yeah.
Pulling out of junctions, it will wheel spin. So it is doable. It's worth knowing it'll pull out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that's the first question. Because it's 0 to 60 in around 16 seconds, or 15.3 or whatever it is, 0 to say 25 isn't particularly bad, especially if you've given it a fair bit of rev, which you might have to do to join some fast roads. It's nice and straightforward. Speedo on the left, rev counter on the right, very easy to see petrol gauge, etc. And we've got road sign recognition too. Cruise control, but no adaptive. We've got halogen lights. They're okay, but we're always going to pick LED. And you can get those on the top trims. No, the thing that makes this stand out is that little short shift manual 5-speed box. Oh, love it. Smooth, refined, and not a notch of notchiness. Brakes, surprisingly good considering we've got discs and drums. It ticks a lot of boxes, doesn't it?
That's it. All in all, you get a heck of a lot for the money.
So there you have it, the new Kia Picanto. Thanks for watching.